There are a lot of movies out there. I know it's kind of a massive understatement, but it was only when I stumbled across an episode of Let's Dissect Dogs 4 that I realised I totally missed 2 and 3. Sequels come and go sometimes with much less pomp than the original, so it's easy for many to fly under your radar. And some even get sneakily announced, but due to stories about Jedis and wizards and third popular tropes, get buried. So let's unearth some of them together, shall we? Now, warning, you might not care about any of these, but I'm just presenting the facts, so don't shoot the attractive, bearded messenger who might also be your dad. With this in mind, I'm Jules for Whatculture.com, and these are 10 movie sequels you didn't know were coming in 2019. Number 10, John Wick Chapter 3. After the breakout success of the first John Wick and the positive reception to its sequel, a third installment in the action franchise was quickly announced earlier this year. Set to open in May 2019, Chapter 3 will also have the same writer as the first two, so should be equally emotional and violent. Huzzah! Other than that, little is known about John Wick 3, besides the obvious assumption that Keanu Reeves will star, but the fact that it's moved from a February release slot to a more prime early summer date indicates that it will receive a bigger budget, something it will need in order to provide all the crowd-pleasing explosion and kills that some audiences expect. In short, this will be the biggest entry in the franchise yet. Number 9, Shaun the Sheep Movie 2. Everyone's favourite stop-motion animated sheep got his own movie in 2015, and it was a bloody good one. I don't care what you say, I am allowed to like nice and family-friendly things once in a while. It's actually been ages since the original's release, so you'd be forgiven if you forgot about the franchise. But given its complex nature of stop-motion animation, the long gap between the two installments isn't really that surprising. The film's story is a mystery, but ShaunTheSheep.com mentioned that Shaun and the flock will be back in another epic and hilarious journey, which, while being nondescript, does imply that all of the regular favourites will be back to the delight of our inner children soon. Number 8, SpongeBob SquarePants 3. After just 2 movies, SpongeBob SquarePants has grossed a combined total of almost $500 million worldwide. Not bad for a cartoon about a sponge with severe mental issues. God, sounds like a film about the royal family, eh? Wait, satire. SpongeBob SquarePants 3 was actually announced 2 years ago, and in that time we've learnt very little. In fact, all we know is that the film's title might not be set in stone, as revealed in a Twitter altercation between SpongeBob showrunner Vincent Waller and YAHOO Entertainment. Well, we know that, and it'll also be released in August 2019 in a slot which sees it being the only animated film of that month, making it an even bigger license to print money. Number 7, Men in Black 4. The fourth Men in Black movie will not be called Men in Black 4, but will be set in the same world as the first 3, but not have Will Smith or Tommy Lee Jones, and will supposedly reference and build upon everything that's been set up so far. Great, I mean, that sounds a bit shit actually. Men in Black 3 was bad enough, but okay, at least the script is being penned by Matt Holloway and Art May, who have Iron Man and Punisher under their belts, and will have Steven Spielberg as the executive producer. But expect that rumoured Men in Black Jump Street crossover to disappear if this is a success. Number 6, The Angry Birds Movie 2. It is depressing to note that the Angry Birds movie might be the single best video game adaptation ever made, but in a subgenre populated by the likes of Assassin's Creed and Super Mario Bros., that's not a huge ask. The first movie made almost $350 million worldwide, so a sequel is a smart decision. Production is actually in full steam, but there's no word if any of the original cast are going to reprise their roles, which is usually a sign of how much faith a studio has in a sequel. Not boasting the same cast usually means they're looking to cut corners, so we'll see how this one turns out. Well, I mean, I won't, because seeing the first one. I'm a busy man. I'm a single dad with 4 channels to support. Number 5, Now You See Me 3. The original Now You See Me was a surprise hit, but its sequel Now You See Me 2 was a gross disappointment. Where the first was enjoyable, stylish, and sumptuously produced, the second was repetitive, convoluted, and overly self-indulgent, and while the magic tricks were still there, they were dragged out to the point where all the reveals raised nothing more than disinterested grunts from the audience. So it's a bit of a shock to see it get another sequel, a sequel that's rumoured to have Benedict Cumberbatch in it, which will certainly get tongues wagging. The script is in the works, and while we don't have any story details yet, expect the film to revolve around a gang of magicians who perform incredible feats of magic with the ultimate aim of taking down a corrupt, wealthy individual. Why? Well, here's why. Because the first 2 were about that as well. That's why. Number 4, The Nut Job 3. If you didn't even know that The Nut Job 2 already came out, then we can't blame you because it got 10% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is a direct reflection of its quality and should be avoided as if it were a bullet. Not that much has been discussed about The Nut Job 3 just yet, but it was unintentionally outed by a trademark application submitted earlier this year. However, given that the series has made enough money to be considered successful, a third entry really isn't that shocking. Number 3, Crossing Over 2. The original Crossing Over isn't exactly high on the list of well-known properties starring Harrison Ford, but it is a thing, it definitely exists, and a sequel is apparently coming in 2019. Lovely. The crime drama about illegal immigrants attempting to settle in Los Angeles with Harrison Ford as an immigration officer made just $3.5 million worldwide and received scathing reviews from critics. And its extremely limited theatrical release has only ensured that the vast majority of people have never heard of it. Taking all this information into consideration, quite why a sequel is being greenlit is anyone's guess. Still, immigration is always a hot topic, so Crossing Over 2 has the potential to carry a sense of timely relevance, and if it's able to tell a powerful story about families just trying to get by, then it could strike a chord with moviegoers. But the first movie's utter failure is a stench that will prove hard to mask. Number 2, Reign of the Superman. Reign of the Superman is the only sequel on this list to not have the original film released yet. Unveiled at this year's San Diego Comic-Con, 2018 will see the release of Death of Superman, an animated movie that will bring Superman's epic clash with Doomsday to the screen after it was recently seen in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. And then in 2019, Reign of the Superman will follow, and since it's based on the comic book of the same name, we already know quite a lot about the story. After Superman's death in the accurately titled Death of Superman, 4 new heroes emerge, each of them claiming to be Superman. The Man of Steel, a hammer-wielding former weapons designer, the Man of Tomorrow, also known as the Cyborg Superman, the Metropolis Kid, a teenage clone of Superman, and the last son of Krypton, a visor-wearing badass. Now, no spoilers, but Reign of the Superman is a crazy tale involving giant robot battlesuits, missiles, and widespread destruction. Yum yum, yes please. It remains to be seen just how closely the adaptation will follow the source material, but if it's faithful, fans who haven't read the comic will be able to witness one of Superman's best stories in gorgeously rendered computer animation. And number 1, 48 Meters Down. One of 2017's biggest surprise hits, 47 Meters Down made over $50 million worldwide on a meager $5.5 million budget, and got everyone talking for a brief period during that summer. Very soon after, a sequel, 48 Meters Down, was set into motion. The original details the struggle of 2 women as they fought to survive while trapped in shark-infested waters at the bottom of the ocean. And the second installment will follow a similar formula. This time around, though, the action will take place in Brazil when the first took place in Mexico, and will follow a group of girls holidaying in a coastal paradise. The girls soon hear about some hidden underwater ruins, and pretending to be Lara Croft, they go there and try to get them, but when they arrive, they discover that those ruins aren't quite as uninhabited as they first appeared. Given how the first film ended, it's not very clear which characters would be able to make a comeback, if any. So if 48 Meters Down can capture that feeling of claustrophobia while delivering on the gory kills, it should provide a scarily good time at the cinema. And those are 10 sequels coming out in 2019 that you probably didn't know about. Let me know in the comment sections below about any more. Then swing by whatculture.com for more news and articles like this every goddamn day. As always, I've been Jules, you've been awesome, and I'll speak to you soon.